What's going on? My main kings and scream queens. I'm still Matthew, and I recently got to see Dragon Ball Super Broly in theaters. Oh my god, this was such an amazing movie. A lot of the Dragon Ball movies have been mostly hit or miss. Uh, Battle of Gods was like the first one that was considered canon, and then Resurrection F was its sequel, and it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it was still pretty good. Um, of course, then these movies ended up getting retconned by Dragon Ball Super itself, but Broly is taking a a divisive character amongst fans he was from previous movies, so he wasn't canon, and making him canon. Now, a lot of people have various problems with the way they originally handled Broly, but and so everyone had assumptions that this movie may not live up to the previous movies, meaning Battle of Gods. People thought that Broly didn't have a place in the canon, that he should remain uh, just a character that fans like because he's inexplicably strong and whatever, because he's always had a weak motivation. He was just always done poorly, but this time around, they did everything brilliantly. Um, giving, completely changing Broly's backstory. Instead of being born on the same day as Goku, now he's closer to Vegeta's age. He was still born impossibly strong, but instead of King Vegeta trying to murder him, he just sends him off to another planet. Uh, his father, Paragus, goes to save him and gets stranded on the same planet. Um, they they introduce or they implement the Dragon Ball Minus story, which is a retcon of uh, Bardock, father of Goku. I had seen that some people were upset about that. But here's why I wasn't. First of all, I'd never seen uh any of the Bardock stuff, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But people were upset because Toriyama has a reputation to forget things and unintentionally retcon things. Um, but the original Bardock special was a TV special. He wasn't in the manga. And to these people who are like these diehard Dragon Ball fans, would technically make him not canon. Toriyama later implemented him in the story of the manga, making him canon, but he didn't explore it. All he said was, "Oh yeah, that guy is Goku's dad." And then he did Dragon Ball Minus, which uh shows Bardock as more of a sympathetic character, which I understand why people didn't really like that, but I mean, what are you gonna do? They did it so well implementing it into the Broly movie, so I really can't complain. Um, and so Goku and Vegeta are on Earth training. They're just sparring with each other, like they always do, just trying to get stronger. Uh, this is after the universe survival arc. Um, after they fought Jiren and Kefla and everyone, so Frieza is still alive. Um, and they find out that someone has stolen the Dragon Balls. And because Bulma had 6 of them, the last one is in the Arctic. She just didn't want to have to go get it. She is collecting the Dragon Balls to wish herself to be 5 years younger. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, you may be wondering, 5 years younger? Why 5? I mean, that is very Bulma, but why 5 specifically? Well, they bring that up. It's because she wants it to look natural. She doesn't, because if she made herself look 10 years younger, she just knows that everyone would be wondering who her surgeon is. Well, we find out that the guys who stole the Dragon Balls work for Frieza. Now, what is it that Frieza is going to wish for? Is he doing what he did before and wants immortality? No, because that would make it boring. Or, well, he knows that there are fates worse than death. And he's talking to one of his minions, and his minion's like, oh, well, then are you going to wish for an invincible body? Like you can't take any damage. And he's like, no, that would make it boring. So that kind of shows that Frieza has now gotten a taste for fighting the way Goku has. And he likes the excitement. It's fun for him now, at least a little bit. So it finally comes out what Frieza is going to wish for. He's going to wish to be 5 centimeters taller, because he wants it to look natural. He wants it to look like he's still growing. That's amazing. So, going off a bit, they introduced these 2 new characters. Their names are Chilai and Lemo. They both work for the Frieza Force. They're both like criminals. And they go off looking, because Frieza is still trying to rebuild his Frieza Force, and they track like a big power level, and they end up coming onto the planet Vampa, which is where Broly and Paragus are. And so Broly and Paragus end up joining the Frieza Force. They end up going to Earth, and Paragus, who still has it out for King Vegeta like he did in the original, but he's fine with them killing Vegeta, because Frieza is like, oh, you hate Vegeta? So do I. You can kill him. There's another Saiyan here who, if you'll remember, because Broly is older than Goku, he's never met Goku. So he has none of that hatred towards him where he hates him because he was crying. None of that. But so Frieza's like, yeah, you can kill Vegeta, but let me kill Goku. So they're like, okay. So they get on Earth, and Goku and Vegeta figure out that Broly and Paragus are Saiyans. And so Broly goes and fights Vegeta, and he's going berserk. I mean, not really berserk, but he's, fighting like a madman, showing off his strength. And then Vegeta goes Super Saiyan, and Paragus is like, what the hell is that? And Frieza's like, wait, your son can't go Super Saiyan. And Paragus is like, Super Saiyan? You mean like the legend? That's just a myth. And Frieza kind of has this damn moment. He's like, this is going to be over a lot sooner than I thought it would. But Broly just keeps getting stronger. He's like learning. He's adapting to fighting a Super Saiyan Vegeta. Like, even though Vegeta was holding his own in his base form versus Broly's base form, and he goes Super Saiyan against Broly's base form, he's still kind of getting his ass kicked because Broly is slowly getting more powerful. So then Vegeta decides, I think I'm done with this, and he goes Super Saiyan God, the red one, which we'd never seen him do before. And then he kind of kicks Broly's ass. He really hands it to him. And then Goku ends up getting into the fight, and there he has his fun. There's the bit from the trailer where he's like he's on the ice doing his little like dance warm up, and so they're fighting. Goku goes Super Saiyan God, and then they start to work together and go Super Saiyan Blue. They really changed the Super Saiyan Blue transformation in this one. Because like if you've seen Resurrection F and even Dragon Ball Super, they go Super Saiyan Blue just like it kind of just happens. But then in this one, they have to really work for it. Schemmel like shredded his pipes, doing this transformation, and it makes for a more dramatic scene. But when I saw it, I couldn't help but think that really doesn't make sense, because the first time we saw it, he kind of just said, "Well, I've got a new thing for you, Frieza," and then he just changed. Whereas this time, now that he's had time to train in it and ideally perfect it, it takes him a lot of effort to get into it. But anyway, so then now that he's fighting two Super Saiyan Blues, Broly starts to get his ass kicked, and Frieza is like, "All right, I don't like this anymore." And he remembers that Broly ideally still has at least a transformation. Now, first of all, they explain that Broly keeps getting stronger because he's tapping into the Great Ape power in his base Saiyan form. So that's why they're having a lot of trouble with it. So Frieza realizes, well, hey, earlier we talked about how he never went Super Saiyan before, and he has a flashback to when he killed Krillin and Goku went Super Saiyan. So he's like, okay, hey Paragus, I have an idea, and he shoots him like through the chest and kills him, and then he just like he makes sure he's dead, and then he does like this hilarious thing where he's like, okay, now he's dead. Broly, your father, it's a tragedy. He's dead. He was killed by a stray energy blast. So Broly sees it, he freaks out, goes Super Saiyan, and loses it. Right? Actually, I think this is where Goku and Vegeta team up. Up to this point, he had only been fighting Goku, but now they're both fighting him together, and they are getting their asses handed to them on a silver platter. And so Goku is like, alright, I have an idea. Let's get out of here. And Vegeta's like, okay. And so they're flying around trying to they're moving Broly. They're letting him trail them. And then they come up over a mountain to where Frieza was. This is my favorite part in the whole movie. They come up over Frieza. Goku, you see him put his hand up to to his head to do the instant transmission, and he grabs Vegeta's hand, and as they go over Frieza, Goku's like, "Have fun, Frieza!" And they disappear, and Frieza's just like, "Wah!" And then they cut to Frieza getting his ass kicked over and over and over. And you find out Goku and Vegeta went to where Piccolo is. And so they end up teaching Vegeta the fusion dance. And so they do the dance. Their fingers don't meet up exactly, and they turn into Veku, the fat one. And so they have to wait half an hour. Cut to Frieza still getting his ass kicked half an hour later. Cut back to Goku and Vegeta doing the dance, and Vegeta's angles are off, so they turn into the skinny one. Cut back to Frieza getting his shit rocked. So this has now been an hour that he has just been getting pounded by Broly. And so at some point in this fight, he goes golden. So then finally they cut back to Goku and Vegeta. They get it right because they didn't have any other funny forms to do. So they turn into Gogeta. Finally, he's canon. And they spend a bit thinking of a name. They come up with Gogeta. You know, it's the same thing that happened with Gotenks. They come up with the name Gogeta. They instant transmission back to Frieza, and because right now Whis is fighting Broly. He's not really fighting him. He's just kind of like moving around, dodging his attacks, just keeping him occupied. So they instant transmission back to them, and Frieza sees them, and he's like, "Who the hell are you?" And Gogeta is like, I am Gogeta. I am Goku and Vegeta fused into one body. You've been dead a long time, so you wouldn't know about this. Our powers aren't just added together. They're significantly multiplied. And Frieza's just like, no fair! Because, I mean, it's just, they really use Frieza essentially just for the comedy. Which is nice because it's like, you know, they don't disrespect his character by having him become a clown, but they are trying to basically hammer home the point that you're not the be all end all, right? And now that he knows that he could feasibly lose a fight against Goku and Vegeta even after he's attained this new form. And he knows that there are people in other universes who are just straight up stronger than him without any kind of transformation. Now he finds out that there's a way that these guys who are sort of stronger than him can just have their powers multiplied by each other. He doesn't know what to do with that. So it's just So that's just the best way for them to establish that, for him to just go, not fair! And so Gogeta and Broly really start fighting. And, you know, it's a really cool scene, and then they end up fighting so hard that they go into this, like, mirror dimension. I don't really know how to describe it. I've seen some people think they're gonna implement this at some point in the future because they specifically bring attention to it, where Gogeta's like, what the hell is this? But when they go in here, the animation changes to look like, it looks a lot like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Or like the middle ground between FighterZ and Xenoverse, where it's like obviously like 3D CG, but it's still cel shaded, so it looks okay. I had seen on the Team 4-Star review that this may have something to do with the fact that this movie was released in 4D in Japan. So that may be it. But I'm not in Japan, so I didn't have that. But then eventually Gogeta charges up a giant Kamehameha and goes to finish off Broly. Meanwhile, what's been happening is I had forgot to talk about Chi-Lai and Limo. When they picked up Broly way in the beginning, they started becoming friends with him. And Chi-Lai, they obviously go for a romantic thing between Chi-Lai and Broly, where she's really trying to look out for him better than Paragus is, because she thinks that Paragus is like a horrible father. And so when she sees that Broly is like he's gonna die here if he doesn't calm down and stop fighting, she gathers up Frieza's Dragon Balls. And she ends up getting the dragon summoned, and she wishes Broly back to Vampa, back to his home planet. And so Broly's about to get hit by this giant Kamehameha, and right as it's about to hit him, you see, when they were in the mirror dimension, Broly goes into his, legendary Super Saiyan form with the green hair, because his base form obviously has the black hair, and then when he transformed into Super Saiyan it had yellow. So here is when he turned green and looked more like original Broly. And in his base form, or like his powered up like Saiyan great ape human form, his eyes were yellow, and then when he went Super Saiyan, his eyes were white, and then when he went green, I think his eyes were red. Maybe they were still white, just showing that he had lost all control. So now that he's about to get hit with this giant Kamehameha and die, his eyes come back, which kind of makes it look like he just snapped back into his self, and he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. But because Chi-Lai wished that he just goes back to his planet, he's just back. He's gone, and Broly is saved to be used for another time. And then Frieza just leaves. I mean, he's not gonna fight Gogeta because he knows he's gonna lose. So it's just better for him to leave. And then Chi-Lai and Limo go back to Vampa and start living there with Broly. And then Goku shows up and he's like, hey, I have some stuff for you. And he gives him some, like, capsules full of food and houses and stuff. And Chi-Lai's like, and he goes to leave. He got there with the instant transmission because they're like, I don't see a ship. And he's like, oh, I just use instant transmission. I sense Broly's power level. And Chi-Lai's like, I don't know what you just said, but whatever. And she's like, we still don't consider you a friend. And he's like, I don't care. I just want to be able to come back and fight Broly. And she's like, well, we may not be here by the time you come back. And he's like, oh, I'll just figure out where he is and go there. That's kind of weird. But, so she's like, I don't even know your name. And Goku's like, my name is Goku, but Broly, you can call me Kakarot. And then he leaves, and that's the end of it. So obviously, because we get, this is Broly's movie. So many people had spoken out over the fact that Goku is just, like, everyone is tired of Goku coming in and saving the day. Especially with, like, Resurrection F, when that's what happened. So they gave Broly, it's like how Infinity War is more or less a Thanos movie. This is a Broly movie. Um, to really hammer that point home, there's a part where when Broly is fighting Goku, where it does something that we've never seen before on in Dragon Ball. It goes into a first person view of Broly. We are in Broly's place. Which is cool. I actually hadn't noticed that the first time. But there were some stuff with Broly's character, rather, where they make him very sympathetic, where you see that he's not evil, he just can't control his power. He's just been raised on a deserted planet with his like angry, pissed off dad. And so they establish that he's never had water before. He's just been killing these giant bugs his entire life for these last 42 years. And so they establish that the one friend he had, Paragus, made hate him. And then that Paragus, still gives him that shock collar to try to control him. But he doesn't hate his father. He still believes that he needs to respect him because he is his father. So it makes Broly such a sympathetic character. As for the animation, like I said, there was the cool scene where it goes first person view with Broly, and then there was the weird scene where it goes kind of CG, looking like fighters in the mirror dimension or whatever. And there were some parts that were there were some things that were noticeably CG, like some environmental effects. Like there's a part where they're fighting essentially like on lava, and the lava is very clearly CG, and it doesn't look bad, it just looks out of place. But I mean, I really can't say a whole lot more about this movie. It's just fantastic. If you like Dragon Ball, or if you like Dragon Ball Z, or you like Dragon Ball Super, or you're a fan of Broly, or you hated Broly, you're gonna like this movie because it does everything right. And that's pretty much it. I hate giving. I would hate to give a movie a perfect score, but this is about as perfect as I think a Dragon Ball movie can get. It's that good. I don't think it's not in theaters anymore. But get it on DVD or Blu-ray as soon as possible if you haven't seen it. Even if you have seen it, get it. It's great. I'm still Matthew, and I'm not going anywhere.